So yeah, this is the assembly video of that NP263XHD for the Duramax. There's a better video of a guy, I forget the name of his channel, but he's doing the NP261, which is basically the same thing. It's just a manual shift. So you watch, his video. He goes in a little bit more in depth. It's a longer video. It's probably better than this one, but between the two of them, you ought to be able to put together your NP261 or your NP263 HD transfer cases. So I'm shooting this intro after I already did it, but yeah, it actually worked. It went in. I would suggest replacing the synchro assembly if there's any question. I should have replaced mine. Truck don't like to shift. Like you're running down the road, 40 miles an hour and you hit the button, it don't like to go in. But I try not to do that anyways. So anyways, stay tuned and we get her put together. Well, my parts showed up. This is the planetary setup. I'm gonna work on that. The big snap ring in the top here. Use a screwdriver, kind of pry it in and just kind of work it up out. And then this guy here will pull up out. There's a bearing that goes in here. This guy right here, which came in the Merchant Auto kit that I had. I don't think there's anything wrong with this bearing, but I mean, I bought new bearings and you can see it's full of schmutz and whatever. So no sense buying a new bearing if you're not gonna install it. So it drove out pretty easy. Just drove it out from the back, found a socket that fit down in there and a couple whacks, and out it came. If you had a parts washer, it'd probably be a good idea to run all this stuff through the parts washer. I don't have one. My dad has one up the road, but I just use some brake clean and some towels, and we'll just get it as good as we can. I mean, we ain't open heart surgery or nothing. Just a transfer case on an old Chevy truck. This Merchant Auto kit, their deluxe bearing kit's pretty awesome. Everything, they didn't sponsor this video. I wish they would have, but they didn't. But that's just where I got it from. But everything's labeled, which is nice. It appears to be decent quality stuff. Probably comes right from the land of China, but so does the GM parts that you buy. So we'll keep going. There's also these thrust washers in there. I'll show you where they go when I go to put this back together, but they're pretty important. They come in the kit. These guys right here. Everything seems to be labeled, so I think what I'm going to do is just kind of go one assembly at a time, get everything cleaned up, new bearings, whatever the hell it needs, and everything cleaned up, and just get it all reassembled, ready to go back in, and then we'll put it back in. So I'll kind of stop the video and start it, for each little assembly, but that's my plan. So that bearing I screwed up. I drove it in too far, but it moves really easily. You get looking on the edge, it goes just down below flush in there. It goes right on the end of this shaft, like so. Your planetary gear goes in there, and then to get your low range, this right here would be high range. It would just lock it all together, I'm guessing. And that would give you your low range. So let this guy drive all around the planetary gears. This here would lock them all together, I guess. Or maybe I'm backwards, I don't know. These guys here, everything's nicely labeled in this kit. It's kind of wild to buy a kit and it's actually nice and everything's labeled. And this guy goes right down in here, little tabs. He goes just like that, and then this piece down in there like that, there's another one of these. The other one didn't have the little dinks on the side of it, but this one does, so I'm assuming it'll work. It just goes in like that. Then this piece here goes on like so, and then there is a snap ring that goes in there, and then your planetary gear setup is all together and copacetic and happy. So I'll get working on the next thing here, and we'll come back. This is what the inside of the pump looks like. It's just a basic G-rotor pump. This is the back. I marked the back and the front. Obviously I'm not reusing this back piece, but if I got in a pickle, didn't quite figure out how it went back together or whatever, then I could, you know, line it back up. But I'm pretty sure it'll more than likely only go one way because it has to keep the eccentric kind of like that, and then the oil comes in and then it just compresses it and pushes it out. A basic G-rotor pump. It looks to be in good shape. I mean, it's really clean inside for as dirty as everything else was, but I don't think it had any fluid to pump around in there. So we'll get this cleaned up. It doesn't appear that there was a gasket or anything between it. So I have that Merchant Auto kit to put in here. The back half, what the hell I just knocked out of there? Hopefully it was nothing important. I think it was an O-ring, or there's an O-ring I think that goes right here. I think that's what I just knocked out. So yeah, we'll get this guy cleaned up and we'll start putting him back together. But that's the oil pump. This is the piece that we're keeping. We're getting rid of the other piece. They were T15 Torx to take them out. So here's this is out of the old pump, you know, the two gears here, the G-rotor, which I got a little more to clean on that one, but the outer ring just goes in there, and the inner ring goes in, and then you fit that on there. It'll only fit one way. The holes are off kilter, which is awesome, but this is what makes this considerably better than what New Process used, is these big ears, you know, so they'll spread the load and they won't just knife edge and zap a hole in there. I'm sure that, you know, over time they might wear a little bit, but it's going to be considerably less wear than, you know, the original. So we'll keep going. And that's how it goes together, just like that. Like I say, it'll only go one way, and I need to wash my hands because I'm getting the parts dirtier than they were to begin with. But yeah, it'll only go one way. They give you a little tube of thread locker in there, so I'm guessing that just, you know, thread locker them and give them a quick ooga booga with the impact. I'm just using a 1/4 inch impact, but yeah, so we'll Loctite them, get them back together, and then the pump is upgraded. Oh, and that right there, it turns exactly how it should. The output shaft of the transfer case turns it, which is good to know because you can put it in neutral and it'll still, you know, as you're dragging it down the road, it'll still pump its oil. But now that the transfer case will actually hold oil, this guy will actually have a job to do. So that's the pump. Like I said, it's from Merchant Auto right here. It's like $100. I got the kit. You can buy just this for like 90 or something like that, but I got the kit. It came with this, and it came with the sealer and the Loctite, and I'm pretty sure it come with a bearing for or not a bearing, but the gasket for the front there. I know I have one, but I don't know if that came with a kit or not, but and it came with magnetic drain plugs, which, you know, never hurt anything. Good to have an extra one. But that's the Merchant Auto deal there. Don't go crazy. These are just little itty bitty baby screws, you know, going into aluminum. So they give you a blue thread locker. Use that and just go easy on them. There's your new input shaft bearing goes down in. Don't forget there's a snap ring around the outside of it that you have to open up the snap ring, and then the bearing will drop right in. I cleaned this case with soap, water, then I baked it in the oven, and it's a little warm, which actually helps with the bearings. But there's your input shaft bearing that goes like that. Planetary gear setup, which I already showed you everything that goes into that, you know, the bearing in the back there, and then the thrust washers. So that goes down in there. I could see where that could pinch a man's fingers. Block of wood to set this on standby. I ain't certain that planetary's down in there enough, but we'll fidget with that. But here's your other bearing, your front output bearing there. Don't forget the snap ring around the outside. This guy here, it's your front deal here. I have to clean that up a little bit. So then your front output shaft, once you get the bearing in, put that guy in, just give him a little tap. I thought something else went on here, but apparently it doesn't. There's a snap ring that goes on the front of that. There's also that snap ring that goes on the planetary. Don't forget either one of those or you'll be sorry, I'm sure of it. So now we got this guy. Now we got to get the old shift mechanism figured out here. So that'll probably take me about an hour. I don't think you guys want to sit here and watch me pull my hair out and look like a complete and utter idiot. Just a little bit of an idiot. So I'll figure that out and then we'll come back. Okay, so what you'll do first here is put the rooster comb in. The kit came with a new bearing that goes down in there, and it's a flat roller bearing. You can see where the rooster comb sticks out right here. It's a flat roller bearing, and the rollers are not captured, so they give you a little cap. So put the bearing in so that when you jam the rooster comb in from that side, it'll pop the cap out and you won't lose the rollers. So that's the first step. And then the second step to putting it together, I put a little assembly lube on it, just good enough for motor, it's good enough for a transfer case. Then what you do is doing this one-handed, stick the range fork. I put the new pads on that, and then stick the range fork back into the range hub there. Stick the range hub down inside, and then twist it until it goes into the rooster comb like that. Get your shift shaft here, stick him down in there, and there's your planetary setup. Everything in there looks copacetic. Probably should put the snap ring on the front before you get too far into this, just because you could push that shaft back up out, but I will do that, and we'll keep going here. I got to figure out the proper sequence to put the main shaft and the mode fork in and all that good stuff. So once I figure that out, I'll show you. Okay, and then this guy, basically, I'm not going to take it back apart because it was a real pain. Put the main shaft in, take this outer collar off right here, your shifter collar, stick that in the fork, and then slowly set it on there. And you kind of got to, don't force it because you got a synchro ring and everything in there that you have to line up, and just get it down to where it touches the rooster comb. And then I'm guessing as the rooster comb comes along, it'll just push it back like so. And that gives you, when it goes back like that, it locks on the dog right there, and that's what engages your chain, and that's what gives you your four-wheel drive. Forward like that, your front shaft and everything, because your sprocket goes here, sprocket goes there, chain goes around, it would just turn, and then this clicks back, locks like that. There's your four-wheel drive right there. So that right there is right. Then the spring goes on like so. It went down in the other fork. I'm guessing that it probably doesn't on this one because it's going to have a fair amount of tension to push it back forward. But there's that. So there's that. We'll get the rest of it put back on there. I haven't found the snap ring. I think there's a snap ring goes on one of them shafts in the front. I'm going to have to watch my other video to see where I took it off. But I haven't been able to find it yet. But anyways, we'll keep going. Okay, then your sprockets, I label them side to side. They're both the same. obviously if you were using the chain and they had a wear pattern, maybe it's important. I don't know. I doubt it. But I labeled mine, and they both say 30, and the 30 was up on both of these ones. So this, I'm sure this is going to be fun to fight this back on there. We're a third hand. I gotta believe if the good Lord wanted people to work on vehicles, he'd give them a third hand. So there's that, and of course it's going to be loose because there's nothing holding it, you know. It's spread it like that, and that's, you know, because you got your bearing here and your bearing back. Bearing runs right up here. Then this guy, he goes on like that. Sure, that's how that went. No, bearing goes on there first. Bearing goes on first, then that guy, then your oil pump. So let me go here and we'll pick it back up when I figure it out. Okay, I got it figured out. There's a snap ring, great big snap ring goes on here, holds sprocket on. Don't forget that. I may or may not be talking from experience. I have to wipe the crap off of it. On now, they're the same side to side, like the sprockets were the same. It makes sense that the snap rings would be the same. Got it in the wrong spot. It's got to go down one more notch. Okay, there's that. Sprockets are on. That's on. Okay, now the oil pump goes on. Oil pump goes on, and this guy goes on, and your bearing goes on. Tearing up my dead blow. I'll get a real hammer. And don't go all Thor on it, just tap it on nice and easy, about like that. Piece of pipe from an MGB I had before I started this whole YouTube endeavor, and I'm guessing this has got to be the one. Got to be the snap ring for that. I only got one snap ring left, and I'm pretty sure that that one goes on the input shaft, but I don't really remember. Catch him on an angle right there. Okay, he's on. We're getting lots and lots of less parts. Yeah, lots and lots less parts. A few O-rings and a few seals left. I'm going to test fit the back cover before I silicone it. We got to clean this all up, the oil pump and all that crap, and that's got to go in. There's a seal, goes in a seal that's in there that fell out. So he goes in, and then that kind of fishes its way down. Something to that effect for your pickup, which I broke my pickup screen, but I can glue it back together. So let me keep figuring this out and make sure I didn't forget anything, and we'll keep going. Okay, I got it. Finally got it. It wanted to fight, and then I didn't have the planetary set all the way down in. There is a snap ring for the planetary set. There's not a snap ring here. So, which I thought that there was, but if there is, I've misplaced it, which I'll have to double check. But definitely a snap ring on that bearing there. For the input shaft, I didn't have it down in all the way. I went to put it in. You could see the chain was sitting like this, so it wasn't right. But now everything fits in there how it's supposed to. So do not force it. If it'll only go one way, okay? And if it won't go, don't force it. And then don't forget the magnet. This is my magnet. This is all the shit that was stuck to my magnet. So I got to get that guy cleaned up. I broke my pump pickup, but I've got it super glued back together. So that's drying right now. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'll get this cleaned up, let that dry, give everything a double check, and then get some silicone on here. You don't go crazy with the silicone. A lot of them, you know, everything that pushes to the outside ends up on the inside. So you got to be careful, because then it'll fill the damn pickup full of, you know, silicone, and then you just did all this for nothing. So use enough, but don't use too much. So we'll pick back up here in a second. Your pickup for your pump, I had to put it in before you put all this other crap in, because I had to pop this snap ring right here and pick this whole thing up, get the chain out of the way, and then feed it up through. But you can see it goes here, goes around the shifter rod there, the shift fork, and then down into there. And that's how I broke mine, was trying to get it out, and I forced it too hard, and I snapped it. So I super glued it and then melted it back together. Got the magnet clean. Don't forget the magnet. I don't think it would be the end of the world if you did forget the magnet, but it's in there to catch all the shit. I mean, you saw the shit that was stuck to mine. So that's that. This groove here goes up, and then your you know, the snap ring goes in that back case, which I'll have to put the snap ring in the case. This is the case half that I got. I got the one that had the bearing already installed. I lubed it with some assembly lube, and it has the bushing already installed. It was only like $8 more than one that didn't, and it came with another output shaft seal, which output shaft seal itself was like 40 bucks when I bought mine. But that's pretty much it. So now I'm gonna dry fit the case and just make sure everything goes in. Maybe I'll throw a bolt in it on each side and just make sure it shifts and does what it's supposed to do. I haven't put the seals in. I'll put them in last, because they're, especially this one right here, this one here is a real bear. So I'll get them all in and make sure everything shifts. I still have to put the detent in. The detent sits over there. I still have to put that in, which that goes up through the bottom right there, which I got a new O-ring for that. So that has to go in yet. Then your speed sensor will go in once you put the case half on. If you try to take it off with the speed sensor still in, you will break the speed sensor on this bearing. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna do a dry run, make sure everything fits, and then we'll go from there. And there it is back together. This snap ring right here is a son of a bitch, but what I ended up doing was prying it out and then kind of holding it. You have to push down in, because when you pry, especially with the snap ring pliers I got, it wants to pull it up. You have to push it down in, and then I stuck a screwdriver down through that hole right there and kind of pry it on the back side of the Speedo pickup, and just nice and easy. Don't go freaking thorn it or nothing. Just, you know, give it just a little bit of pressure, and you get a hold of that snap ring and wiggle it in and out, and you'll feel the bearing just pop through it. And then just kind of keep prying, you know, and just very gently, and it'll stop, and then just click the snap ring down in there, and that sets all your end play. Because I took this back apart because I was having it was making a weird noise where the lock dog on the shifter was hitting the points there. Well, this right here is why, because I didn't have that snap ring in there at the time. I was just dry fitting everything, and then I got it all together, and I forgot the stupid spring that moves the mode fork. But anyways, that right there is a freshly rebuilt NP263XHD. So I've already shifted it through the gears. It shifts. I have to beat the back seal in, input shaft seal, and then the front output shaft seal in. But then I got to put that plug in there, and I'm missing my vent too. I noticed. I'll have to find something for that. If nothing else, I can just tap that hole and put something in there. But there it is, NP263XHD. Bring your full 4-letter vocabulary, and don't be afraid. Do not force it. If you have to force it, you're doing something wrong. This bolt right here is a stud, and I'll put that in later because I have to put the clips on. I have a diagram I drew myself where the clips are, so I'll just take bolts back out, put the clips on. But do not force it. It'll only go one way. If you have to force it, something's wrong. So that's all there is to it. If you haven't and you feel like it, subscribe. There'll be some Duramax content here and there. It's pretty much, it doesn't really need much, but pretty good truck. But anyways, you know, now we'll have 4-wheel peel. We'll actually be able to do something with it. But anyways, like I say, if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to, that's awesome. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. Thank you to everybody that watches. And as always, thanks for watching. Say hi, Dewey. Hi, Dewey. This is a neighbor's dog. He ventured over to visit me in the shop here. His name's Dewey. He's a dog and a half long and only half a dog high. He's like 75, I think, in people years. But he's a good dog. He just don't care. But anyways,